Hey guys, Trevor with Shadow Systems. It's Technical Tuesday. We're out at the range today, and I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about the reality, which is that guns do malfunction. Okay, so I want to just show kind of malfunction clearance techniques here today on the range. I've set it up kind of like I'm at an indoor range because I know not everybody has access to an outdoor facility, but this is stuff that you can practice at an indoor range as well. All right. So the goal here is to get the gun back in action quickly. Now, look, if you're loading or testing, you may not want to have this immediate reaction. You may want to evaluate the cause of the malfunction, especially if you're breaking in a new gun. You want to know what's going on or why it happened and maybe take a picture or something. I get that. This is more, how do I clear the gun really quickly and get it back into action, okay? When people talk about malfunctions, it can get kind of academic. They'll say, you know, failure to feed, failure to extract, you know, double feed. There's these, you know, descriptions of what's happening mechanically. I like to think of it more in simple terms of like, what are the things that I'm going to experience on the gun that I'm going to see, and how do I correct them, okay? So the way I think of it is a click, no bang, a failure to extract stovepipe, something about the slide didn't go forward, right? Click, no bang, stovepipe, and then a double feed, okay? So the good news is the vast majority of malfunctions are corrected the same way very quickly, and we can look at that. It's really only the double feed that's kind of a pain in the ass. So let me just show you what I got on my little makeshift lane here. So I've got a couple magazines, some ammunition, and some fired brass that I'm gonna use to set up the click no bang. I'm sorry, the stovepipe. I'm also shooting a DR920 combat optic, which just for whatever reason is one of my favorites. This one's got a black barrel, which I, for whatever reason, really like. Okay, so I'm loading up this magazine, and we're gonna start first with the mechanics of clearing the malfunction. So the gun's empty, okay? So everybody's heard it different ways, you know, tap, rack, bang, tap, rock and roll, bang, whatever it might be. All right, fundamentally, it's all the same. What we're doing is we're making sure the magazine is fully seated, because it's possible to, you know, stick a magazine in, you think the gun is loaded, you chamber around, or you think you did, and there's nothing in there because you didn't seat the magazine. So the first movement on the malfunction clearance is to seat the magazine fully. That's the tap. The second movement is to rack. That either gets rid of the round that is half hung up in the chamber going up the ramp, or the stovepipe casing that's poking up over the top. That's the rack. And then bang is, of course, shoot. So tap, rack, bang. One thing about the rack is you want to be really aggressive, okay? So you'll notice that I am rolling the gun over a little bit, and that just kind of helps kick anything that's in the chamber out of the chamber. It's also easier to get a good aggressive rack if you're doing an overhand grip versus something like this, because as a right-handed shooter, you'll end up kind of keeping it in the ejection port if there's a round that's hung up. So again, we got the gun up, the gun fails to fire, tap, rack, bang. Okay, that's the idea. All right, so now we can actually set it up. So the first one is what I call click, no bang. So click, no bang, to set it up, to set the click, no bang, you just stick a magazine in the gun and nothing in the tube. So all I did there was cock the gun, put a magazine in. So I'm at the range, I'm gonna take my shot, gun fails to fire, we'll go slow, tap, rack, bang, right? All right, so now we'll do it a little faster. I'm gonna set that drill again. So I go out to shoot, it doesn't work, tap, rack, bang, okay? So that's a click, no bang. Usually it's a bad round or a magazine that didn't get fully inserted when you loaded the gun. We'll do it one more time. Empty chamber, tap, rack, bang, right? Where the hell did that one go? Anyway, yeah, there it is. All right, so tap, rack, bang. That should clear the click, no bang. All right, the other one that happens that we all have seen before, you'll notice I have some fired brass up here, okay? I usually set it this way. I start with the gun fully empty and unloaded, okay? I put the slide back to the rear a little bit, and I just stick a piece of brass in there like that. Now, you could theoretically put a piece of brass in there with a round going up the chamber, but I just think it's safer to set it like this without anything in the gun. All right, so now I've got my gun like this, ready to go. I extend the gun out, nothing, tap, rack, bang. All right, what's the value of having the brass in there? The value is that you get used to actually kicking it out. You'll discover if you're not racking the gun correctly and you're leaving the brass in there. So we'll do it one more time. Gun is unloaded. Put a piece of brass in there, kind of however you feel like it. Stick the magazine in. Tap, rack, bang. Okay? All right, so that's the stovepipe. All right, the last one is the double feed. So a double feed is what it sounds like. That's where you have a round in the chamber, like this, and then another round trying to get behind it. Okay? So I've got a primed round in there. Let's look at that. I got a primed round in there, unfired. It could also maybe be a casing, maybe. Okay, but usually it's a round. And then I got one round coming up the ramp behind it. Now, like we talked about, you always start with the tap rack. Now, there's various philosophies on how many times you do it. I usually will do it twice, but chances are if it doesn't work the first time, it ain't gonna work. So let's try that. Tap, rack, okay? So two racks, and I never got the round off, right? Okay, there's two approaches. Some people will say you can just rip the magazine out right away. Pull the magazine down and rip it out. Others will say that it's better to lock the slide to the rear first. So I'm going to show you both ways, okay? So let me just do this really quick. Let me stick some more rounds in these mags. If you do it the way that you lock the slide back, it's lock, rip, rack, reload. Lock, rip, rack, reload. That's the sequence if you really want to be deliberate to get that double feed out of the gun. You can also get away sometimes with skipping the lock step. The reason people will say to lock it to the rear first is it's a lot easier to get the magazine out, and sometimes the round falls out with it, okay? If you don't lock it to the rear first, then you really got to rip that magazine, and you know, a magazine like the ones we ship, there's plenty to hold on to, but not every magazine's like that. Okay, so let's do lock, rip, rack first. All right, so to set the double feed, I'm going to put the slide to the rear, lock it to the rear. I'm going to take a single round, not like that. I'm going to take a single round and I'm going to drop it in the barrel. And then I'm going to gently let the slide forward behind it. Now, some people will say, oh, well, the round could hit the primer. I've never seen that happen. Just, you know, ease it up behind it. The round's probably going to actually stay under the rim on that casing. All right, here we go. So, tap, rack, bang. Oops, tap, rack, bang. Lock, rip. That magazine might be the culprit, so ditch it if you've got another one. Rack, reload, bang. Let's do it one more time. So, round in the chamber, magazine behind it, reload on the table or on your belt. Tap, rack, bang, lock, rip, oops, rack, reload, back in the fight. Okay, now, one other point, this is not a discussion of tactics. The truth is, you probably should be moving to cover if you can when that gun malfunctions. I get that, but in a sterile range environment, like you're at an indoor range, you can actually practice this stuff, okay? So that's what we're demonstrating right now. We'll do it one more time, because it's the hardest one. Right? Tap, rack, bang. Lock, rip, rack, reload. Bang. Okay? Let me just show it the other way I mentioned, where you don't actually lock the slide to the rear first, just to demonstrate that it can be done. So, as I said before, you're skipping the lock step. So, gun comes out, tap, rack, bang. Rip, rack, reload. All right? So, there you go. Tap, rack, bang. Always start there. That'll solve your click, no bang, like a dead round or a failure to insert magazine. It'll also solve, if you rack the gun properly, a failure to feed or a failure to extract. Stovepipe is normally what that looks like. Okay, tap, rack, bang. If that doesn't work, lock, rip, rack, reload, or just rip, rack, reload. All right? That's stuff you can actually practice at the range safely the way I showed you here. Don't get ahead of yourself. You know, I mean, this is live ammo, so you want to be smart about what you do. The other thing is, when you're doing the tap, rack, bang, the lock, rip, rack for a double feed, You might start to push this round into the casing a little bit as you're racking it. So when I'm racking it, it's not going in, right? I'm actually kind of hammering the nose of the bullet into the casing. If it looks a little weird, I would junk it and not shoot it. It could be a little higher pressure because your case capacity is reduced. Okay, hope that was helpful, and next Tuesday we'll do it again. Thanks a lot.